Next batch of MSME's grant of 50,000 naira to be paid this week, says presidency. Nigeria's China 720 billion naira currency swap deal on slow pace 3 years after. SEC task investors on e-dividend. Federal government and World Bank strengthens agricultural sector. Plus, how Nigeria is faring in attracting foreign direct investment in an era of economic recovery is the focus of discussion on the program. This is Business Express, reaching you from Abuja, Nigeria's capital. I am Musa Abubakar, your guide. Now let's begin the program with currency swap. 720 billion naira swap deal for at least 15 billion yuan currency between Nigeria and China has recorded a slow pace 3 years after the initiative was launched. This has left more Nigerian importers on the China route facing the hurdles of sourcing the dollar as foreign exchange for their businesses. Records obtained by Daily Trust reveal that since the inception of the currency swap deal with China in May 2018, the CBN has sold 1.746 billion yuan from inception to end of June 2020. The Apex Bank noted that the sale of the Chinese yuan further reduced demand pressure for the United States dollar and conserve foreign reserves. While sufficient data may not yet be available for the total amount sold between July 2020 and April 2021, estimates from previous disbursements suggest that not much has been done. The currency swap agreement allows importers of goods from China to conclude their transaction in the Chinese currency, the yuan, instead of the dollar. The agreement makes Nigeria the third country in Africa after South Africa and Egypt to sign such a deal with China. Now, the Securities and Exchange Commission has again urged investors in the capital market to register for e-dividend so they can receive the benefits of their investments in the capital market. The Executive Commissioner Operations of SEC, Dayo Obisan, stated this at the weekend. The e-dividend is the process of paying dividends due to shareholders through a direct credit into the chosen bank account electronically rather than the issuance of dividend warrant through the postal system. Obisan said the registration is necessary to reduce the unclaimed dividends profile as well as increase liquidity in the capital market and the economy. The forms are readily available on the SEC website, the registrar's websites, as well as banking halls. A total of 319,755 Nigerians have benefited from the Economic Sustainability Plan's Survival Fund payroll support. Senior Special Assistant to the Vice President of Media and Publicity, Laulu Akande, disclosed that the next batch of beneficiaries under the scheme and the one of General MSMS grant of 50,000 naira will be paid this week. Akande said this week's payment is expected to increase the number of beneficiaries under the payroll support track, which has so far benefited a total of 319,755 Nigerians, while 265,425 Nigerians are beneficiaries under the Artisans and Transport Support Track. The payroll support track aims to support 500,000 beneficiaries with payment of up to 50,000 naira per employee for a period of 3 months. According to Akande, the scheme is estimated to save not less than 1.3 million jobs across the country and specifically impact on over 35,000 individuals per state. Now, 7 more digital economy projects expected to tackle insecurity, reduce corruption, and boost economic development of the country have been virtually inaugurated. ICT correspondent Joseph Johnson reports that the projects are in Jigawa, Imo, Bauchi, Lagos, Enugu, and Ogun states, and one in Garki Secondary School, Abuja.
In order to continue to promote the national digital economy policy and strategy, we are at the tail end of completing national digital innovation, entrepreneurship, and startup policy. This is another policy of the federal government of Nigeria that will give priority and preference to our startups, our young innovators. We challenge them. They come up with solutions, either in public or private sector, and government will be bold enough to adopt their solutions.
I have no doubt we are going to meet our targets in the implementation of National Digital Economy Policy for Digital Nigeria.
The federal government is getting more financial support from the World Bank to further strengthen the country's food security. Musa Baba Aliyu reports that the support is coming through agro-processing, productivity, enhancement and livelihood support projects.
The Nigeria World Bank Agricultural Support Initiative is a 6-year project designed with a view to strengthening the country's agricultural activities. It has been 3 years that the project is being executed in 6 states.
We are just not thinking of just empowering these farmers with inputs, but also proven technologies that will raise their productivity from their present level to a higher level.
The World Bank's recent assessment of the project's performance at its midterm review shows significant progress. The number of the beneficiaries being targeted for the project is estimated at 60,000. Sadia, a native of Kano State, is one of the youth who have been trained and empowered. She produces bread known locally as gurasa, which is a popular delicacy in Kano. In Lagos, Cross River and Enugu states, beneficiaries were trained on poultry, aquaculture, among other agricultural activities.
IP's project emphasizes on the need to extend the segments of the value chains to processing, marketing, value addition.
With the pass mark from the World Bank, activities continue for the second half of the project's life cycle. The core areas of the project's interventions include production, primary processing, value addition, and post-harvest management. In Abuja,
leaders of big global economies have announced moves to reduce carbon emissions by between 30 to 50% before 2030. The commitments were made at the Leaders Summit on Climate convened by the United States in line with global efforts to mitigate, build resilience and adapt to climate change for economic growth. Ononge Fineface reports.
There is a sense of urgent need to rescue planet Earth from plunging down carbon-induced climate change tipping point. The tipping point is a stage when climate disruptions caused by carbon emissions cannot be reversed. The United States, Britain, Japan, Russia, China, Canada, and other big greenhouse gas emitters are taking big steps to cut their emissions and contribute to building climate resilience, mitigation, and adaptation.
The UK has been able to cut our own CO2 emissions by about 42% on 1990 levels, and we've seen our economy grow by 73%.
As of now, 45% of our energy mix is accounted for by low-emission energy sources, including nuclear generation.
Climate actions already adopted and proposed for consideration by world leaders include fixing price on pollution, decarbonizing industries, ban on harmful single-use plastics, emission-free electricity, and legislation on nationally determined contributions to achieve net zero carbon emission.
We think that CO2 pricing is the right way forward. That is why we have introduced a national emissions trading for transport and heating.
In Canada, we've worked hard to get to over 80% emissions-free electricity, and we're not going to stop until we get to 100%.
The summit convened by the United States seeks to highlight the urgent need to reduce carbon emissions, as well as the economic benefits of climate action, while helping vulnerable countries to cope with unavoidable climate impacts.
The agriculture is one of the biggest non-oil sectors of the Nigerian economy, with full potentials for driving the federal government's quest for diversification of revenue sources. This is attracting players in the various agricultural subsectors for productive participation along their value chains. Bosede Abel in this report tells of the mushroom prospects and opportunities.
The Africa Free Trade Area is the largest in the world and provides prospects of creating $6.7 trillion of additional economic contribution, industrial development, economic diversity, and qualified human resources. Nations are increasingly devising means to benefit from this 1.2 billion people's market. Opportunities in the mushroom farming is in focus, and growers are seeking ways to enhance viability in nutrition through the plant. Nigeria presently produces about 500 metric tons of mushroom. It is less than the nation's needs. To this end, key players in the farming sector are working out modalities that will enhance mushroom cultivation in Nigeria, which they say will serve as an investment opportunity and a tool for sustainable development in the mushroom value chain. President, National Mushroom Growers Association of Nigeria, Michael Nwono, says growing the plant has a place in the nation's economic diversification strategy.
See, we are making emphasis on youths and women. This is because you do not need any special energy, not like cocoa, not like other commodities, palm, not like rice or cassava. You start today, in the next 2 months thereabout, you are harvesting. 1 month plus, you are harvesting. And in 3 months, 4 months, you've completed a cycle.
We need to revamp our economy, and the only way to do that is to make sure that we are producing primary productions for export-oriented. We are on the threshold of greatness, and we should be able to join the world economy in and tap the multi-million dollars available in this subsector.
Mushrooms can be eaten raw or cooked, and experts say it contains immune-supporting nutrients. Bosede Abel, NTA News.
Now, how is Nigeria faring in attracting foreign direct investment in an era of economic recovery? I have Emeka Ofo, Director, Strategic Communications, Nigerian Investment Promotion Commission, to tell us this and more. Welcome to Business Express.
Thank you for inviting me.
Okay, the NIPC report for first quarter 2021 says that there are about $8.4 billion investment pronouncement made for the first quarter 2021, and which has risen by 75% compared to the same quarter of last year. Now, can you tell us what factors are responsible for these expectations?
Okay, thank you. I would like to start by saying that the report of investment announcements published by the Nigerian Investment Promotion Commission just gives a sense of investors' interest in our economy. It is not the same thing as actual investment inflows into the country. Okay. It's just an indication that these investors are willing to invest in our country. Thereafter, what we need to do is to follow through with these investors to ensure that they actualize their investment aspiration. I would like to mention also that the figures that we get concerning actual investment flows come from the National Bureau of Statistics. Okay. So in the current year, 2021, what we have seen is a gradual recovery. Investors have begun to look at what is going on in the economy, how they will reopen the economy. Several countries are also reopening their economies in the aftermath of COVID-19. Nigeria as a country also has been opening up its economy to ensure that investors take advantage of the opportunities in Nigeria.
Okay, but you track these investments?
Yes.
After the pronouncement?
That's right.
But it should tell you something when you track them.
Yeah.
Okay. Have you been tracking the first quarter report? Your report?
Yes. NIPC has been tracking investments announcements since 2017.
Okay.
In the current Q1 2021, what we have seen is a 75% growth.
Okay.
When compared to the figure of 2020. Like I said, it's an indication that economies are opening up. It's an indication that investments are gradually getting into the mix of investing in several sectors. It's also an indication that we need to do more to encourage these investors to come into and invest in Nigeria.
Okay, the pronouncement says manufacturing and construction seem to be attracting more investment. Is that the trend?
Manufacturing and construction, as well as services, have prominently featured in the investment announcements that we have seen over the years. In the context of COVID-19 pandemic, we found out that some sectors were able to show more resilience in terms of the economy. So what happened is that manufacturing, construction, and the services sector in terms of maybe ICT, in terms of the fintech, and so on and so forth, have shown some resilience, and that is why maybe they are showing featuring prominently in this quarter. Okay,
we've seen the Bayelsa, Delta, and Akwa Ibom seem to top the most attractive destinations. Why is that?
So the way to look at it is that all the sectors, all the states in Nigeria have competitive advantages.
Okay.
Since we started tracking the investment announcements in 2017, almost all the states in Nigeria have featured. Okay. So it's not as if the other states are not doing anything.
But why is the attraction? Is it that they tend to have more manufacturing activities or things like that?
So the way it works is that when investors decide to invest in an economy, they go through a process.
Of course.
Right? And then that process takes time. They first of all start with a long list of investment locations. And then they will begin to work on the selected location. When it gets to the time where they are supposed to make the announcement, when they are ready, they now make an announcement. So it doesn't mean that the other states are not doing much. For instance, Kaduna State has featured about twice as a leading investment destination in terms of our investments, tracking of our investment announcements. Kogi State featured recently. So the traction has to do with which investors are ready to make their announcement within the period under review. So I don't know, that explains why at this point in time we have Bayelsa State, Delta State, and Akwa Ibom State featuring as top investment locations. We don't know who will feature next in the next quarter. But the investment opportunities that featured in this quarter happen to come from those states.
Okay. Let's talk about the NIPC attracting foreign direct investments. What strategies are you using to attract foreign direct investment?
So NIPC was set up by the NIPC Act to encourage, promote, and coordinate investments in Nigeria. We employ several strategies based on the mandate that we have. For example, the first thing we try to do is to showcase Nigeria as an investment location of choice. We want to make investors or propose investors feel good about Nigeria. And thereafter, we support them to go through to facilitate the process by hand-holding them to go through their investment journey. Then we also advise government on how best to improve the business environment. One important thing we do in Nigeria, in NIPC, is to make information available so that these investors will have the better informed knowledge of making their investment decisions. We ultimately know that investment sits in the states. So we work strategically with states to ensure that they are ready to receive investors, to ensure that all the standards we agreed with them, the marketing standards, the information standards, the property standards, that they are ready to receive these investment opportunities as they come. And like I said, we advise government on the most important thing of improving the business environment so that these investors will be able to find some joy in investing in Nigeria and then realizing their investment aspirations.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Ima Ofo, Director of Strategic Communications, Nigerian Investment Promotion Commission.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Now, moving on, it was a week of gains last week for Nigerian equities market. Moplan Dakok has details.
NSE All-Share Index and market capitalization appreciated by 1.27% to close last week at 39,301.82 and 20.568 trillion naira. A total of 1.6 billion shares worth 42.1 billion naira in 19,507 deals were traded by investors on the floor of the exchange. All indices finished higher with the exception of the NSE Sovereign Bond Index, which depreciated, while the NSE SM and the NSE Growth Indices closed flat. The financial services industry led the activity chart with 1.029 billion shares valued at 9.1 billion naira in 11,095 deals. The ICT industry followed with 215.4 million shares. Trading in the top three equities, Fidelity Bank, MTN Nigeria, and Guarantee Trust Bank jointly accounted for 580.7 million shares worth 34.3 billion naira in 3,197 deals. A total of 262,526 units of exchange-traded products ETPs valued at 4.1 million naira were traded in 38 deals, as well as a total of 70,316 federal government bonds valued at 78.3 million naira. Summary of price changes saw 39 equities appreciating in price during the week, 24 equities depreciating in price, and 99 equities remaining unchanged. With Stock Market Report, Moplang Dakok.
And now the equities markets for today close the negative note, close at 0.05% at over 39,000. The top trades are Transcope, FBN Holdings, and Mossad. Where the dollar edged lower on Monday amid speculation that U.S. Federal Reserve Chairman Jerome Powell will shun talk of tampering bond purchases at a policy meeting this week. Here is graphical demonstration. Now that wraps up this edition of Business Express. Remember to keep in touch with us by sending in your comments, observations and suggestions. Also be informed that all previous episodes are available on YouTube on the NTA's channel. You can also communicate with us on Twitter, and the handle is NTA News Now, and the hashtag is BizX. Business Express returns Tuesday at 9:30 a.m. Be safe out there. I am Musa Abubakar.